She was gonna have sex with me on her second date at my house at such a young age. Why wouldn't she have sex with somebody else?
How about when her family tried to explain to you that if the baby comes out black, that it's still yours? Okay?
Look, I get it. And Miss Richardson, this is what's difficult because as a woman, I do understand, and I have to say this a lot in this courtroom because it is true and it never changes and it will never change. Once you ring that bell and say this isn't your baby, you ain't never getting that bell back.
Me getting pregnant and stuff, I messed around with the guy a couple of weeks before him. It was more of a revenge thing because of the stuff he was doing to me.
Was that sex protected sex or unprotected sex?
Unprotected.
Ms. Richardson claims Mr. Smith began denying their daughter after she was conceived. She asserts that their relationship was serious and that Mr. Smith had been eager to have a child with her due to his uncertain health. You'll never guess what's up next, so don't blink.
Ms. Richardson, you say you were in an exclusive relationship with Mr. Smith and even tried to have a baby together. But after you conceived your daughter, Kalani, Mr. Smith started denying your baby. You intend to prove he is the father today.
This just keeps getting juicier. Ms. Richardson emotionally recounts how Mr. Smith, fearing a short life, expressed a strong desire to have a child with her. She agreed to this despite her reservations, influenced by her feelings of love and commitment at the time. Strap in, because the next part of the story is a roller coaster.
Around the time we were together for about 8 months, he had told me he was in a situation where he didn't know if he were going to live a long time. Me being young and dumb and I was actually in love with him, I agreed on it.
Talk about a plot twist. Ms. Richardson details their attempt to conceive around Halloween, followed by immediate news of her pregnancy to Mr. Smith. She describes their joint visits to doctor appointments, highlighting their initial commitment to raising the child together. Things are about to get even more intriguing, so keep watching.
Around October 31st, we were together. I had left Job Corps, which he was still in. I left on the 28th. On the 31st, I had sent for him to come in for the weekend. So, we can go home on weekend. That day we did have sex, and that's whenever my daughter was conceived. I called him immediately.
What a tangled web we weave. Judge Lake cautions Ms. Richardson about the realities of relationships, emphasizing the difference between comfort, convenience, and true commitment. The judge stresses that Mr. Smith's intermittent returns do not equate to a genuine, long-term relationship. Just when you think you've seen it all, there's more.
Now this is just woman to woman. You've got to be able to decide and be able to know the difference between being his comfort and his convenience and being the commitment. What I'm hearing now is, yeah, he might come back and forth. That's because you left. Yes, he wants to be with you in the bed. You understand? That does not mean he's going to stick around for a relationship or for the child.
Here's where it gets spicy. Mr. Smith admits his initial excitement about the pregnancy, but also confesses to his doubts, suggesting possible infidelity on Ms. Richardson's part. This marks a pivotal moment in the episode, revealing the complexities of their relationship. But wait, there's more drama around the corner.
I thought she probably found somebody else outside of Job Corps. Probably
I called
got
him every day. He called me every day. I worked from 2 in the p.m. to 11 at night, so there was no time I could cheat at all. I called him each.
Mr. Smith disagrees. He's shaking his head when you testify.
We were with each other almost every weekend. Every time I went home, he went.
What part of that story do you disagree with, Mr. Smith?
The date. I don't remember coming home that day.
The plot thickens. Brianna Smith, Mr. Smith's twin sister, testifies about the escalating tensions during the pregnancy. She recalls both the initial excitement and the growing doubts due to aggressive interactions and suspicious messages. Buckle up, because the next testimony is a doozy.
I feel like she should look like me to a certain extent. And, she has the big eye. I'll give her that.
Just like her mother.
But as far as the lips and the things of that nature, I just don't see. At first, I did think that Kalani was Bobby's, but after seeing all messages and seeing how she acts and all the things that she say, it is hard to believe. And then with the video, I never seen the dude.
Can you handle what's coming next? A video submitted as evidence becomes a topic of intense scrutiny in court. The video apparently shows the child with another man, leading to heated discussions about the nature of the relationship between Ms. Richardson and the other man featured in the video. Stay tuned. The next twist is a jaw-dropper.
This is a still of the video you submitted.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that is her godfather.
And
if he chooses to kiss her on the forehead,
if you can see the video, ma'am, your opinion of a godfather, that's not it. You know what I mean? I've never seen somebody.
Well, look, I get it. And Miss Richardson, this is what's difficult because as a woman, I do understand, and I have to say this a lot in this courtroom because it is true and it never changes and it will never change. Once you ring that bell and say this isn't your baby, you ain't never getting that bell back.
Get ready for some real talk. Judge Lake delivers a powerful message about the responsibilities and emotional maturity required to raise a child. She stresses the importance of recognizing and managing the intense emotions involved in their relationships. The aftermath of this revelation is something you'll want to see.
Do you follow me?
Yes, ma'am.
And the last I heard, the parents choose the together. And that's another fact we don't have on track, because you're kids. You're not ready for all of it. You're not ready for it emotionally. You're not ready for it at all.
Hold on to your seats. The climactic moment arrives as the DNA test results are revealed.
It has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Smith.
The revelation here is startling, almost like something out of a daytime drama. Ms. Smith discusses her initial lack of knowledge about Malachi potentially being her nephew. She describes her reaction upon learning about Malachi from Ms. Laster, expressing that she would accept and love Malachi if he was indeed her brother's child, highlighting her nurturing nature and readiness to include him in the family. Keep watching. The surprises are just starting, and you might want to grab some popcorn for this one.
So when did Miss Laster make you aware, and how did she go about telling you? Just saying that, you know, this could be your nephew, it really could?
Yes.
And then when you asked her, why would you tell me what's going on?
She just said she had a lot going on and she didn't want to really get into it.
And so at that point, did you just accept?
I accept him because, I mean, if this could be my brother's baby, I don't want to push him away. I mean, if this is my brother's child, I want to get to know him. I want to take him in. I want to love on him.
This is a truly unexpected turn, like a plot twist in a mystery novel. Grandma Smith reveals her first encounter with Malachi was only the day before, shocking the courtroom with the fact that she hadn't seen him for 4 years, despite his alleged connection to her family. This moment underscores the emotional and familial disconnect within the story being unraveled in the court. The next moment adds even more depth to the emotional landscape, so stay tuned.
Yesterday was the first time I even touched that child.
So yesterday was the first time you ever seen him in person?
Not until yesterday.
In 4 years?
4 years. I never knew nothing about it.
Oh, that's precious. So, Miss Laster, I don't get it.
Can you feel the tension rising? It's thicker than a bowl of oatmeal. Ms. Laster emotionally recounts her relationship with the deceased, describing how losing him deeply affected her and led to her avoidance in confronting the paternity issue. She admits to withholding information due to the emotional trauma, which provides insight into her personal struggles and the complex human emotions involved in the case. Brace yourself. The complexity deepens in the upcoming segment, and it's juicier than a ripe peach.
Like I said, it was just something really emotional for me, and I just didn't want to face it, so I just, left it undone.
What was so emotional?
Losing him broke me really, really bad. That was the first time I ever been with somebody that actually cared about me. That was the first thing. I met them, and they loved me. I've lived with Miss Dolores, too, but that was the first time that I actually, met a man that cared for me and had my best interest at heart. It was too much for me.
This piece of testimony is a game changer, shaking things up like a martini at a James Bond film. The judge introduces another twist by revealing Ms. Laster was also involved with another man around the time she was with the deceased. This raises questions about the paternity of Malachi, complicating the case further. The connection between Malachi's stutter and his potential father's childhood speech impediment is highlighted, bringing a genetic aspect into the paternity discussion. Don't go anywhere. The revelations are far from over, and they're more tangled than your grandma's knitting.
I called Tess and I was like, hey, is this normal? Have Travis had these issues in the past? And she was like, yeah, he used to stutter when he was a kid. Well, in the back of my mind, I'm thinking like, most definitely, okay, that he's most definitely his. But at the time that I was dating somebody, well, we didn't date.
Okay.
But at the time, I was just dealing with that person. I dealt with him in February. In the beginning of the month of January, I started seeing Travis and sleeping with him. And I had Malachi in October.
This analysis will have you on the edge of your seat, and it's not because it's a scary movie. The court examines the timeline of Ms. Laster's relationships and sexual encounters to determine the window of conception. This forensic approach underscores the meticulous nature of paternity cases in determining biological relationships and the potential for error in personal recollection and timelines. Up next, an expert weighs in with scientific clarity, and let's just say, you'll want to see this.
You were having sex with Travis. That's why you came up with that assumption.
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to know you do realize that the window of conception that's outlined here on the calendar, 2 weeks from the time when you had sex with the other man.
Yes.
That's a little too close for comfort in this courtroom. So why do you just eliminate him? Because that's just 2 weeks.
This explanation clears up a lot of confusion, like a window cleaner on a smudgy pane. A conversation with Dr. Baird, a DNA scientist, clarifies the typical results presentation in paternity tests, addressing confusion over DNA test results mentioned by Ms. Laster. This educational moment highlights the importance of accuracy and standard procedures in scientific testing, which are critical in judicial contexts. The courtroom is about to hear the impactful results, so keep your eyes peeled. It's about to get real.
In a hearing right now, Dr. Baird, where our defendant is saying that she received paperwork that indicated that during a DNA testing process, it was determined it was 99.9% probability that a man was not the father of a child. Are results ever achieved that way?
The typical way to express an exclusion of paternity is to say that the alleged father has a probability of paternity of 0%.
The atmosphere is charged with anticipation, thick enough to cut with a knife. The DNA test results for Jacory are revealed.
The percentage of relatedness between Ms. Dolores and Malachi Laster is 0.00%. You are not related.
Oh, wow.
Mr. Gray opens his case by suing his wife for a paternity test, doubting his daughter's paternity due to startling revelations about his wife's past. He articulates his concerns, clearly influenced by both his own doubts and his parents' mistrust towards his wife, Mrs. Gray. And just when you think you've seen it all, wait until the next twist.
Mr. Gray, you are suing your wife and the mother of your daughter for a paternity test. You and your parents claim Mrs. Gray lied to you about her sexual past, and since discovering the truth about her, you now all fear the baby is not your biological daughter.
Things heat up as Mrs. Gray fires back with her own version. Mrs. Gray responds to her husband's accusations by arguing that his lack of trust and his parents' meddling are tearing their marriage apart. She throws in some accusations about past financial neglect by Mr. Gray, highlighting both emotional and practical strains in their relationship. Buckle up, because the family fireworks are just getting started.
You argue that your husband is destroying your marriage because he no longer trusts you. You claim that your in-laws' influence is causing your husband to deny child. You also say your husband has not stepped up financially in the past.
Wait till you hear this jaw-dropper from the mother-in-law. A shocking revelation comes from Mrs. Gray's mother-in-law, who vividly recounts the couple's early sexual encounters when they first met, emphasizing their young ages and the immediate consequences, which included an unplanned pregnancy confirmed by a home test. If you thought that was a doozy, the next revelation is even more eye-popping.
That the first time that she come to our home, that particular day, she and Tanner went to the bedroom and had unprotected sex.
Okay. How old were they when...
She was 14 and he was 15 years old. Okay,
Let me get my mouth off the ground.
Okay.
They went to his bedroom
yes,
and
ma'am.
had sex.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Gray spills the beans on their unusual second date. Mr. Gray details the beginning of his relationship with Mrs. Gray, noting that their second date stretched over several days at his mother's house. This unconventional dating scenario set the stage for their swift and complicated relationship. Just wait until you hear what comes next. It's a real head-turner.
He'd always been involved in sports, basketball, popular child. He always made very good decisions. He had a relationship before, furnished him with a condom in case he ever wanted to have sex.
So you had a discussion with him about responsibility?
Absolutely. He had a complete goal. He was going to be a police officer, and everything changed.
Here comes a curveball about the baby's paternity. Doubts about the paternity of the child intensify as Mr. Gray discusses the conflicting stories about the child's paternity, including erroneous beliefs promoted by Mrs. Gray's family regarding the baby's potential racial characteristics, which baffled Mr. Gray due to his youth and inexperience.
15 and 14 years old? 2-day dates? Never heard of such. Okay.
Yes, and they were supposed to be sleeping by the Christmas tree. Well, that didn't go over so well.
Okay.
So, considering the fact of her family's background and considering the fact of what Tanner's told me about her previous boyfriends, I'm not sure that the baby could be his. I felt like, he was the pick of the litter.
The courtroom is about to get a major shakeup with Mr. Gray's next revelation. The situation escalates when Mr. Gray reveals he found incriminating emails suggesting that Mrs. Gray had multiple sexual partners shortly before their relationship began. This discovery led to a demand for a DNA test, fiercely opposed by Mrs. Gray's family, ramping up the tension and suspicions. The court's reaction to this bombshell will definitely raise some eyebrows.
When she was 14 years old and I was 15, we decided to have sex, and I figured if she was gonna have sex with me on our second date at my house at such a young age, why wouldn't she have sex with somebody else?
How about when her family tried to explain to you that if the baby comes out black, that it's still yours? Okay?
That's an interesting fact even for the court.
It took me and my oldest daughter 2 days to convince him that that was not the truth.
Mrs. Gray's confession turns the hearing on its head. A major confrontation occurs as Mrs. Gray admits to having slept with multiple partners before Mr. Gray, confirming his worst fears and the reasons behind his paternity doubts. This admission significantly shifts the dynamics of their relationship and trust. Fasten your seatbelts, because Mr. Boyd's comments next are a game changer.
Your Honor, during the moment, it was a mutual agreement, yes, but about You know, I had gotten and broken into her email accounts, and 2 to 4 weeks prior to our date, actually, she had sexual conversations with numerous guys, and I had proof of that. I had sat her down and I told her all about that. First, she denied it. I got into the email again to show her what I had found. The information was not there.
Mr. Boyd steps up with some eyebrow-raising opinions. The court hears from Mr. Boyd, Mrs. Gray's stepfather, who lambasts the young couple's decision-making and Mrs. Gray's influence, painting a grim picture of the challenges they face due to their youth and Mrs. Gray's controversial past. The emotional testimony from Ms. Wohlhart up next adds a whole new layer of drama to the family saga.
That it would make him a bad person if he did not trust her enough to have that DNA test. So he did not have that DNA test against my wishes.
I mean, there's no question denying these pictures. They look just alike. They both have big ears. I mean, I don't have big ears at all.
I would like to say that picture of Tanner right there looks identical to my 4-year-old who has a different father.
Ms. Wohlhart brings an emotional perspective that pulls at the heartstrings. Ms. Wohlhart, Mrs. Gray's grandmother, joins via Skype to discuss her substantial support for the child during periods of instability between the couple. Her testimony underscores the broader family dynamics and the financial and emotional burdens placed on extended family members. The verdict is up next, and it's going to tug at your heartstrings.
Told her father at the hospital that you were going to let her live in your house.
She had to live somewhere.
Now, it seems like you are upset with Mr. Gray's mother. What is it specifically that you feel like she's done or has not done?
Another thing, being teenagers, they would have never left the living room, for one, if I was at home.
The climax of the case arrives with the DNA test results.
Gray versus Gray. When it comes to Keely, Mr. Gray, you are her father.
Strap in for this one. Mr. Carr throws down the gauntlet, accusing Ms. Villa of serial cheating and artful dodging over a DNA test for their daughter Trinity for the last 3 years. His doubt about being the father is palpable, thanks to her Houdini-like antics to avoid confrontation. Brace yourselves, because the twists just keep coming.
Mr. Carr, you state that Miss Villa is a notorious cheater who tried to pin her daughter Trinity on you.
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim there is no way you are the father and had to open today's case because she's been running from you and a DNA test for 3 years.
You won't see this twist coming. Ms. Villa steps into the confession booth, admitting to her roller coaster of mistakes, but stands firm that Mr. Carr is Trinity's dad. She's pinning her hopes on the DNA results to mend fences and solidify her claims. Keep watching. The emotional thermometer is about to burst.
Ms. Villa, you admit to making mistakes in your relationship with the defendant, but you and your best friend want to prove he fathered your daughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Carr, you say you had to open up today's case.
Yes, Your Honor.
Here comes a bombshell. Mr. Carr labels Ms. Villa as the infamous heartbreaker, accusing her of a trilogy of treachery, lying, cheating, and general no-goodness. Despite the chaos, he admits to sticking around, hoping to flip the script on his own past. But wait, there's more chaos to unpack.
Her nickname is Heartbreaker.
What does that
From the
have anything to
beginning
do with
of the
Trinity?
relationships that we had together, she was a liar, a cheater, and no good for nothing, just to be honest.
But you still stayed with me.
That's what I was
Actually,
just about to say.
She
You
stayed
to have
with
sex
me.
with me and everything else, and you allowed me back.
The reason I kept taking her back because I wanted to prove, like, we both have a history. Before I became a loyal man, I was just like her, jumping from person to person to person.
Can you believe this curveball? Their saga started from a casual Facebook message and escalated to an unintended family plan. Mr. Carr unpacks the messy beginnings, revealing the gravity of their entanglement. And guess what? The roller coaster is just picking up speed.
And it turned into a relationship
Yes.
from just meeting on Facebook.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so you all decided, what is this, love at first sight for you all? Like, what you were just like,
No, Your Honor.
we want to do this?
Problem was I couldn't get rid of her, Your Honor.
You said you wanted
If you
to save her.
wanted me gone, you would have spoke up and told me to get out.
And I did.
No, you didn't. And that's
Testified
not
to,
what
you
were telling
said
me.
you met a girl that you liked and you really wanted to try to build a relationship with her.
Grab some popcorn for this drama unfold. Mr. Carr dives into the gritty details of discovering Ms. Villa's multiple infidelities, which fuels his skepticism about fathering Trinity. Ms. Villa counters, suggesting some dalliances happened during their off periods. Buckle up. The next revelation is a doozy.
She cheated on you 8 different times with 8 different people?
No,
Yes,
that's
Your
not how
Honor.
it went. There was times I did cheat on him, and there was times we were broken up and I
You're
messed around.
sitting
Just
here
like he
admitting
kicked
that
me
you're
out,
cheating now. That
girl, in
being
a place we
said,
shared together. So you need to get your story straight and tell your
my
part.
hope, you're admitting that you're cheating. Why not admit the full truth? Because
I
full
admitted I
truth is the only
cheated,
thing that's going to
but
set you
each
free.
one
Find it out out,
together.
Mr. Carr.
Ever heard of car troubles? Well, here's a new twist. Ms. Villa and Mr. Carr recount a steamy car rendezvous that might just explain Trinity's conception. This pivotal moment is tied directly to the whens and hows of baby making. You won't want to miss what's coming up.
If we just slept together on the 14th, then how did you know that you're pregnant? How in the world do you know that you're pregnant?
You told me I was
So
pregnant.
you
You're a
have
liar.
sex 3 days later and she tells you, now I'm pregnant.
No.
So you thinking like, how do you know you pregnant 3 days after we just have sex?
Exactly, Your Honor.
Tell us some more lies, Tony. Keep going.
I don't have to
I
lie.
conceived
It's
her
the truth.
February 14th when we had sex in his car.
Tissue alert. Mr. Carr shares his emotional turmoil over loving and raising Trinity amid doubts of her paternity. His bond with the child is undeniable, yet the uncertainty gnaws at him daily. The emotional stakes are high, and it's about to get even more heartfelt.
And it's hurtful because I have to
Mr.
live with
Carr-
this pain every single day.
Tony, you chose
trying
to do that.
Think.
You
chose
were there
for you
on
to go
and
cheat?
off, on and
Okay.
off.
Anyways,
Do you have a relationship with her?
yes, Your Honor. I'm with her every day of the week, just about. Just about every day of the week. I play my role as a father. No matter what it is, no
Adorable.
matter how much pain or how much that eats me up inside, I still treat her like she's my own child.
Who ordered a side of evasion with their court drama? Mr. Carr lays out Ms. Villa's geographical escapades, suggesting a masterclass in avoidance over the DNA test. This chase scene of moves and counter-moves paints a vivid picture of their tumultuous journey, and there's still more to uncover.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you
Yes,
please
Your Honor.
step up to the monitor and let's review this exhibit? So you say she's been running away from a DNA test.
I was in Alabama. She was in Tampa, Florida. I tried to hook the cases together as soon as she received the letter from Tampa, Florida to Muscle Shoals, Alabama.
You were told I was moving.
From Muscle Shoals, she moves to Decatur, Alabama.
Didn't see that coming, did you? In a jaw-dropping twist, Ms. Villa's best friend, Ms. McDonald, drops a truth bomb about another potential father during the conception window. This confession sends shockwaves through the court. Stay tuned, the plot thickens dramatically.
Did she ever say that she was with another man during the window of conception? She did
A one
say
night
that.
stand, yes.
So she did tell you that during the window of time when Trinity was conceived, she did have a one-night stand with someone else. That's not what you testified to here.
Me getting pregnant and stuff, I messed around with the guy a couple of weeks before him. It was more of a revenge thing because of the stuff he was doing to me.
Was that sex protected sex or unprotected sex?
Unprotected.
Here's the big reveal. Everyone hold your breath.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Carr, you are the father. That's your beautiful little girl.